女士们、先生们，欢迎来到李世锋茶谈录。Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a Tea with Li. Today, with great honor and pleasure, we are having Christine Xiaoying from Guangzhou, China, to share with us her life story on painting and also studying on and also teaching on both Chinese and English. Please, Xiaoying, you are on the stage. And how and why did you choose to paint, to become a painter? And also you are excellently, mastery on both languages.
Okay. Thank you, first of all, for setting up this meeting. Painting, I have started painting since I was a kid. I really like this whole art form. My mother, she's a painter. She does Chinese painting, which is something that I don't know how to do. She paints with ink and flowers and birds and things like that. But so I definitely have a great interest in painting. So I never really learned from any teachers. She never really gave me any tutors to learn the basics. And so I just started drawing since I was maybe less than 10 years old. And I learned a little bit in school with a teacher, and I started drawing, and I never stopped. So I usually will draw whatever comes to mind, and then I will have to search whatever material I can get my hands on, either search online or I look at art history from long ago all the way onto modern art. I learned art history by myself, and I copy or I practiced the styles to find my own style. So up to now, I have done a lot of drawing, and I also lived for 3 years in Mexico. And when I was in Mexico, I also did a lot of art over there. So I basically would do acrylic paintings like the ones in the background. And I don't know, I don't think you can see this painting very clearly because of the light, but I do acrylic painting, and I also do body painting, but I don't do that anymore. And I also did a comic book that was from last year. I published the first comic book, and I'm working on the second one. And I also do digital painting. So I taught myself to do digital painting during COVID because there's nothing better to do. And we're in our houses. So I got an iPad and I started learning digital painting. So I have been producing also digital drawings and digital paintings and posters. I can print them onto t-shirts and doing the traditional art, digital painting, and comics. And as for English and Chinese languages, my major was English, and I got my master's degree in Hong Kong, also in translation between Chinese and English. And after that, I knew that I was going to be a language teacher. Both of my parents are teachers, and they both teach in different universities. And so I grew up with a bunch of teachers in our houses, and I knew that it would be my career path to teach languages. That my parents do not teach languages, they teach different things. But I knew that I am pretty good at languages, and I just wanted to, when I'm outside of China, I will teach Chinese. And when I'm inside of China, I will teach English. So currently I am teaching in a university here in Guangzhou. That's teaching college kids English. And at some point, I realized that maybe I should make some content online as well. So people can not only sit in my classroom and learn languages, they can also go to my channels and learn some other kinds of English that are more interesting, interactive, or funny. So I hope those answer your question of the two questions that you asked me.
Definitely, of course, it's clearly expressed what you are doing right now. And you mentioned that, your mom, paint like traditional Chinese art, like ink painting, right? But
That's
you
right.
somehow creatively to be who you are for your own style. I don't know how to define your style, but it's very unique. And also, you learned and practiced to grow up as a painter somehow by yourself. How come? Because most of the Chinese kids, we are raised up by the parents, and we have a lot of homework. and we, you know, like because my cousin is you know, now he's a college student, but when he was like a teenager, he started to join, you know, the school.
Yeah.
To paint. And how come that you created your own style, you know, particularly? And
Okay.
it's because of you have a tremendously, you know, imagination, or, you know, because of some of your personality. Because most of the students, they I think somehow they get influenced from their parents or their teacher, and then they somehow grow up in their own way. But you are quite unique.
Okay, that's a very good question. Yeah, you definitely listened to what I was saying, and you made a very good question. I would say, first of all, and as I mentioned in the first question, I do have a huge interest in the art form. I think interest is probably one of the best teachers. And like you said as well, as a Chinese kid, we have a lot of homework, a lot of schoolwork. And as we grow older, especially in high school, we have so much work to do. There's basically no time to do anything else. So I would say, at the very beginning, it was an interest. My mother has always supported this because she paints herself as well. She paints different kinds of art. She also tries Western art, but she's more interested in Chinese style. And so she taught me some basics. She noticed that I have an interest in this. And so she taught me some basics about lighting and shading, about forms, so on and so forth. And I would do some sketches with her when I was younger, so I had more time. And then when I grew older, I would say, especially when I became an adult, I would say that art became a sort of an escape from the pressure of the schoolwork. And as I became an adult, it becomes also a freelance work as well. So whenever I have free time, I can actually do some drawings, and sometimes those drawings can sell. So it gives me of a financial feedback that can help me to paint even more. As how I learned to paint by myself, I would say it's a combination of my mother's technical ability as a painter and also my father's personality, because he is a very free-thinking scholar. He teaches music, which is not very related with painting, but he's definitely a very creative person, probably one of the most creative person that I've known. So he always has all kinds of ideas. He writes essays about it. So he has a very critical and also creative thinking. So coupled with my mother's imagination and her technical ability, I also got a lot of books from my mother, like the art history books. So I would dive into, as a kid, I would dive into those very, very thick. I think there were 4 books, very, very thick with pictures, all those kinds of art history books. I look at those and it just piqued my interest even more. So I would start to sketch and draw and refine my skills, even though it was not a skill that was learned by tutoring or going to art school. Because my parents also thought that I have enough homework already. I have enough tutors, teachers, and they think it's an interest. They never thought that it will become part of my career. So they went, okay, it's an interest. Let's nourish that interest. Let's let her develop by herself without the pressure of, hey, we're parents and we're paying for you to learn how to do art, because they don't want that kind of pressure on me. If they told me, hey, we're spending a lot of money for you to learn to draw, then maybe I, as a kid, would think, oh, I better make some progress. Otherwise, my parents are going to blame me later, right, for wasting their money and time. So it always became kind of a stream of consciousness development of, let's see how far she can go by herself. And so I definitely have a bit of creativity from my father, the technical support from my mother, and a really strong interest in the art form by itself. So I really enjoy creating characters that are uniquely mine, because I do not want to, copy off other people. Even though I do that at the beginning just to refine my skills, I want to create my own things. I want the character to look like it's from my design. I want the story to be unique, and I want the color scheme, the shapes, everything to be representative of who I am. So I think that's the part of my father playing in this size. I want to be unique and I want to give out ideas that are unique. And of course, there are great artists from the past that I really love, and I will learn a lot from them, like Salvador Dali. And I like surrealism. You were saying that my art is a bit different. So I would say I took a lot of inspiration from surrealism, from Spain, from Dali and his work. And I really enjoy, of course, a lot of comic styles, specifically American comic styles, and also some of the animation styles. So I just basically mash everything together, also with some idea to create my own stuff. So I think part of the reasons why I can do this, besides the genetic element from my parents, is that I really like to create. I just like to create things and I want to create them differently. And I have the freedom without parental pressure or job pressure or financial pressure for me to really having to achieve a certain level. Because if I understand myself very much, if I have too much pressure, I probably would not do it. I only do certain things when I enjoy it. So I think time and freedom, and also my upbringing, and also the genetic part played a great deal in how I ended up being who I am right now.
Cool. After listening up your story, I have to say, lucky you. Of course, not only beyond not only lucky, beyond the luckiness that you mentioned that you have freedom to work on what you love to, and I hope and I wish, and I'm quite sure that this luckiness will, along with you, keep going on, and because with this luckiness, you are being who you are, created your own, style, and you show us, the visitors, the audience, a wonderful, like a spiritual word which you use to share that we are sent to this world, to this physical world, to learn and to express the spiritual world. Exactly. And on the other hand, I think also you mentioned you used to work, in Mexico, and you fond of like the Spanish culture, United States, traveling this and that. These countries, I also offered the kung fu class, and I traveled all of these places, so I can totally resonate with you. For example, like the Mexico culture, the Maya culture, what is the imagination from their side, and the freedom of United States, and also the quite, open-hearted spirituality in Spain. They are quite funny, open-minded, always move, and so these combination, based on your style, really based on your life experience, I suppose so. Yeah. Okay. So another thing I would like to share with you, you mentioned that you used to study in Hong Kong University, some university in Hong Kong. I read a little bit your story that you studied in Chinese University of Hong Kong, right?
That's right. Oh.
Okay. Actually, I also used to be there. I offered a Taoism philosophy class over there for a couple of weeks. Yeah.
Oh, wow. What year was that?
In 2016.
Oh,
for the Chinese Study Center.
Nice.
Yeah, over there. So this is somehow our paths crossed, even we didn't.
Yeah, that's amazing. Yeah. That's amazing.
Yeah, in Hong Kong, it's for sort of way in Mexico, America, and Spain, and Okay, so now back to your studying and teaching experience in both language, Chinese and English. I feel minutes ago, I just had a nice talk with a friend from United States. She's a martial artist, a stunt woman, and also she practiced a tiny bit of Mandarin, which she mentioned is somehow challenging for her. This is a question for, I cannot say majority, but for big amount of the foreigners who like to learn Chinese, they say, okay, Mandarin is kind of challenging, the tones, the characters, blah, blah. And for Chinese people, us, we feel, oh, English is quite difficult, and my tongue cannot do it. So what's your experience? What is your suggestion?
Okay, I think you ask really good questions. So definitely I can see that why you're such a good teacher, not only in Kung Fu, but also in culture. You're a good listener and you ask very, very deep questions. Okay, so let's talk about foreigners learning Chinese first. Chinese is definitely a very difficult language in the reasons that, first of all, the sound and the writing are completely separate systems. So even if you, as a foreign student, even if you learn the sound and you can speak all right, but when you look at the characters, it's a completely different story. You cannot make the connection, which is when I'm teaching foreign students in Mexico, I also saw that they struggle a lot, especially when it comes to characters. And so I would say if there's a student that wants to learn Chinese, I will ask, the first question I want to ask them is, which ability do you want to focus on? Do you want to focus on speaking and being able to talk to somebody in Chinese? Or do you want to focus on reading and writing because you need to pass a test in writing, right? Or it's different if they want to pass a certain kind of test like HSK, like 普通话考试, right? If they really want to pass that, then they need to do both. But normally speaking, most people will probably focus on the speaking part, right? I want to be able to communicate with Chinese people because I need to do business there, or I want to make connections. I want to be able to communicate. I want to be able to listen and understand. I want to be able to communicate through my mouth what I want to say. Then in that case, then I will probably tell them, don't stress too much about the characters. And let's get the pinyin down first. Get the pinyin down first. Be able to recognize the sounds when people are saying something to you, you know what they mean. And then you learn simple structures of sentences and you relate those with pinyin and you will be able to communicate with them. You'll be able to understand and speak. So that's probably the most important part, and don't stress too much about the characters. Once you get into the characters, then if they want to learn characters, then they have to make a connection between the sound and the words. And one way which is pretty good about Chinese is that most of the Chinese words have two parts, right? For example, like your tea over here, it has the wulong cha and it has tea. So one part is component. We call it 偏旁嘛, right? So component has something to do with the meaning of the word. And then we have the other part, the rest of the word, which is the shape. And the shape has something to do with what it is. So the sound, sometimes the sound of the word, and then the component has something to do with the meaning of the word. So, and also Chinese, at the very beginning, it's like a picture. They're like pictures. So going back to a long time ago, we have the stone script, 甲骨文. So most of the words at that time, they look like pictures. And then later on, they slowly developed into what Chinese characters look like now. So if they want to learn characters, some of them they need to memorize, and then some of them they can look at the component. For example, the word tea on your tea box right here. So on top, you have this shape, right? Cha. So it means it has something to do with plants, leaves, so on and so forth. And then the rest of the character has something to do with the sound. So together, by looking at the component, you will know, oh, it's definitely a kind of plant, or it's definitely a kind of leaves. So what could it be? And then later, when you combine the sounds and you recognize the shape like a picture of the word, then you can recognize, oh, that word means cha and that word means tea, because it's a kind of plant and it's a kind of leaf. So character is definitely a little bit more difficult to learn, but pinyin, if you want to communicate and speak, that will be an easier angle to tackle, because that's the part that people can actually read, and it looks similar to the English alphabet. But the tones, well, you gotta imitate. You gotta be able to imitate. Sometimes I tell my students, like the third tone, which is the hardest one, I would say, oh, just say it like a question, right? So we have ah. And then when you say the third tone, ah, you just go ah, like a question. So you combine them with emotions. And then with English, now, I would say that actually English compared to Chinese is much more popular around the world. So even if we don't, maybe some people don't speak English at all, but they still hear them everywhere. They hear this language everywhere. And I'm pretty sure most people have knowledge of the English alphabet. And one thing we might want to know, that English, along with Spanish, French, and those languages, they belong to a different branch of language, right? So they are Indo-European language. And Indo-European language, among those languages, I would say English is probably grammatically the easiest one. And when it's compared to French, compared to Spanish, compared to German, that's English is actually quite easy, because we might, but it has a more, how do I put it, a more logical way of talking about things than Chinese. Chinese, we have very simple grammar. We don't stress too much about very complicated structure like the English language does. English language is very focused on logic. Oh, did this happen now, or in the past, or in the future? And how do we connect the sentences? You have to have the subject, you have to have this, you have to have that to connect a sentence. But Chinese language is much more free. Like the Chinese poems, they're more focused on the spirit, the emotion, than the structure. English language is more focused on the structure, but it's still easier than French and Spanish, because French and Spanish, they have gender. And they have, right? That part is really crazy, because when I was trying to learn Spanish, you have the conjugations, which is the time, right? The time and plurals. Plurals, one apple, two apples, those are plurals. And then we have the conjugation, which is related with time. Plus, you have the gender. For example, the phone is a man. And the table is a woman. Then you have to, every time when you conjugate, you have to think about the gender as well. So English doesn't have that. So it's already a little easier. So I would say focus on the structure, which is grammar, and also focus on imitation. Imitate as much as you can. Watch TV shows, movies, stand-up comedy, watch cartoons, watch animation, and imitate. The more you imitate, the better you will speak, and the more sense of a language that you will get. And then combine that with grammar, combine that with vocabulary, and of course, you need to speak a little bit every day. Everything comes from practice. Like Kung Fu, you need to practice all the time. You can't just, oh, I'm going to practice a little bit and then I'm going to sleep for 5 days and then see if I can improve, right? Everything takes a little bit of time. So I don't know if that's helpful, but that's probably all I can think of right now.
Cool. And actually, we are doing quite the same. I'm also teaching English and Chinese for different guys.
Oh.
So
nice.
as you mentioned that for learning Chinese is not so challenging. Okay, maybe writing the characters for the Westerners who are used with, used to be with the letters, it's a little challenging. But to speak it, to find the construction of it, it's extremely easy. It's much more easy than most of the languages.
That's
and
right.
yeah, and also that you said that the Chinese character is like a pictograph arts, right? They have the shape and man.
That's right.
The shape and the meaning. Let's say, in Kung Fu we have a style called 形意拳. shape meant fist or shape meaning fist. It's similar.
That's interesting.
So yeah, the Chinese people, we are creatively to express our physical body and mindfulness by our language and also by our body language, which is somehow like related with Kung Fu. And I'm doing similar things with you, but I'm less talented than you. What I'm doing is you are doing a lot of also fitness training now. And another question I'm wondering is how you can be so energetic. And many of the artists, let's say the painters or the language teachers, they are quite of like
indoorsy
of activities. They somehow they want to, many of them, not all of them, they want to stay alone to immerse their own spiritual world. But you are extremely tremendously energized to do some boxing, I suppose, or some fitness training. So what brings you energy?
Oh, another great question again. And I think probably you have more knowledge in this than I do. And when it comes to fitness and when it comes to exercise, what I will understand, and I will ask you later to please share with me your knowledge on this, because you definitely are more of an expert in this. I agree with you that a lot of intellectual workers and also artists, most of their jobs are sitting down or standing in one position for a long time if they want to produce anything. And I saw my parents, and also office workers, oh my God, they're sitting in one place for 8 hours. And they're very busy, so they can't really stand up and move. And I can see that a lot of people, including me before, had a problem of lack of energy or not having a strict schedule. And they actually feeds into the lack of energy as well. So I am in my 30s now. And one of the things that really pushed me to do that is that, I understand that I'm getting older, and I know I'm only gonna get even older later on, right? So getting older also means that my body is not as resistant to damage or resistant to anything, exhaustion, as I used to be in my 20s. Because in the 20s, we can sleep at 4 or 5 in the morning, and then the next day you go to school all the same, no problem, right? I cannot do that anymore. I understand that the body is aging, and I need to do something to maintain at least, or slow down the aging process, at least for my body, for my organs, for my muscles, and so on and so forth. So I also really got into the routine of doing exercise regularly during COVID as well. Before that, I never really exercised regularly. Sometimes I think, okay, maybe it's time for me to do some exercise, and I do some exercise, and then I don't do it for a week and things like that. But during COVID, of course, everybody got the feeling of mortality, I would think, and also the feeling of, oh, this is going to be really scary. We might get sick. We might even die at any moment. So at that time, I started working out, and I started to really learn about workouts, how does it work, how to work out efficiently. So when you ask me what keeps me energized, a few of the benefits of working out is that it gives you a lot of energy. So in the morning when people are just waking up, you get your cup of coffee, and then you're still trying to wake up, then I would say, all right, and maybe do some exercise, maybe just 20 minutes. It will really wake your body up and provide a lot of oxygen, not only to your muscles, but also to your brain. So I find that if I do exercise in the morning for about 30 minutes to an hour, I feel really energized for the rest of the day. And my mind gets very clear for the rest of the day as well. So that's definitely one good thing about exercising. It gives you enough endorphin, it gives you enough oxygen, it strengthens your body, it helps with your stamina throughout the day. So that's when I decided, okay, I need to do a little bit of exercise every day. Even though sometimes I do not have time to do that, I will try to walk everywhere. So that's some cardio. And I also think it has something to do with my personality, because I have a personality of I cannot sit down for a long time. I cannot not do anything for a long time. It makes me anxious. I will think, especially when I'm on holiday, I will think, oh, what am I going to do? I need to do something. If I don't do something, I feel like I'm slowly dying. So I'm that kind of person. So every day I will make a plan of what I do, basically every 1 or 2 hours. So the first one is always to work out so I can have enough energy throughout the day. And I can also do things, even though it's time consuming, I'll be like, okay, for these 2 hours, I'm going to paint a little bit, just a little bit. Or in the next few hours, I'm going to do this. In the next hours, I'm going to do that. But if I do not exercise at the beginning, the whole process will be very slow. Or even I will cancel things. I'll be like, I don't have the energy for this. I don't have the energy for that. But that's one thing I really feel that's important. I hope that you can give me more information. And because I really want to learn something, I really want to learn some kind of martial arts in the future. I don't do any of that.
Sure,
I do weights.
Yeah, and okay, cool that you mentioned that in the morning when we wake up, do some exercise. It help us to awake our body. Indeed, otherwise we feel, even we drink coffee, we feel our mind is somehow awakened, but our body is still sleeping. So yeah, indeed, for martial arts, we, of course, there are different ways to awake our body. For example, to wake our mind. Some, meditation we are considering is like somehow to rest our mind, But on the other hand, it is for awakening our mind. So if you want to awaken our mind, you can do some standing meditation. I'm mostly doing standing meditation. I'm quite like you. Okay. I don't want to sit. I don't like to sit over there. That's why I do standing meditation. So even I'm sitting, but I'm standing on my leg. So at the same time, I'm training my leg to be strong and to get some flexibility. So and also some basic training. For example, in different ways. Of course, we can do some if in softness, we can do some qigong. For example, 5 animal plays, 8 broad cages. But for some martial arts, like you tried some boxing, we can train some movements with application.
Okay.
Real life, for example, like some punching, how we punch our fist, how we use our elbow, and more close, how we do like a shoulder bumping or shoulder strike, even or back strike. So this
back
takes
strike.
some back strike because because when we are quite far with each other, right? We can use our longest weapon, which is our leg, to do kickboxing, right?
Yeah.
And if we are in a medium, space, for example, like this, so we can punch. If we are getting more close, we have no space to punch, we can use our elbow. And if we are extremely close, like we are, face almost touching each other, we can use our shoulder strike because we have no space to use the fist and elbow.
Right.
We can, so it have some training, but the most important is, as we mentioned, firstly, like you have the basic sketch skills from your mom, and we have some basic, firstly, how to avoid the injury, especially the leg, the neck, these weak point, and I mean the knee specific, and also to set a strong power of tiger and dragon. So the tiger is our waist, horizontally. The dragon is our spine, vertical. So when you can have a good tiger and dragon power, and then the other just will follow up.
Oh, so that's interesting.
Some little story of sharing about how we train, and also your fitness training help us to get the power of tiger and dragon.
I understand now. That's interesting.
Yeah. So for the last part is, as I mentioned, you are greatly that can you show us the painting you just finished behind you? The purple and yeah.
Okay.
Please.
I hope the lighting is okay. I'm still working on it. This one is not completely done, but I can show you what's in my art room right now.
Yeah.
So this one, this is a commission. So somebody wants to buy this painting, and I'm doing this according to his idea.
Mm-hmm.
So this is he wanted a mushroom girl.
Mm-hmm.
So there we go.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you can see, but
yeah, we see perfectly. Yeah.
So this is acrylic, and also with acrylic with some color pencil and some acrylic markers as well. So this one I'm still working on.
Mm-hmm.
And there are others that I would say, okay. So there are some that are different. So these are the 4 elements. This is the fire element.
Mm-hmm.
These are also acrylic painting. And then there's there's one I want to show you. Because I think it has something to do with Kung Fu.
Mm-hmm.
So this is the water element.
Oh, yeah.
So I was thinking about Bruce Lee says be like water.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought I wanted to make the water painting like a Kung Fu master of somehow with a big hat on top, but has mountains and water falling down and ice. So that's a good interesting coincidence, because I actually use Kung Fu as an inspiration for this painting.
Cool. Yeah, for you, this 2 painting, this one and another one with the mushroom one, it reminds me of the big hat of Mexicans. Right? They have a huge...
The sombreros?
Yeah, the cap. Yeah, cool. And I cannot paint. I only can, but I'm reforming my hobby, which my father gave me, Chinese calligraphy.
Oh, that's very cool.
So yeah,
that's very cool.
It's kind of another style of painting. Yeah, so we all get some, let's say, great, education in a sort of way from our parents. So this is another similar part, because when I didn't, have like you, the sort of freedom. I was pushed to practice Chinese calligraphy. That's part of the reason I don't really like it in the very beginning. But now when with some life experience, and I found it so interesting, and it's telling stories, and it perfectly match what I'm doing in the Kung Fu, because they are pictograph arts. So when I write it down and I'm telling the story, and I can explain to the friends and students who are training with me about the martial arts. Okay. Anyhow, so thank you, Christy and Xiaoying, for your wonderful experience and great stories. For any one of you guys who are looking for a unique painting style, and you can see a bunch of great painting already ready to be ordered. And for the guys who would like to learn Chinese and English, and Christine Xiaoying is the exact one you are looking for. And I will post your channel and also your social